It's Paul Adams from Branson Adams with a Three Things podcast. I'm pleased to be joined today by Tracy Jarvis from CMPP and the Looking Glass Network. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for the welcome.
No, it's good you're here. We normally talk about your life story and various things along the way. So where did the journey begin for you?
Yeah, so where did the journey begin? Well, it began in Northtown in Aldershot, in a obviously quite highly deprived community, to two parents, Kevin a plumber, and Yvonne the seamstress maker, who sewed medals onto army uniforms. So I grew up in Aldershot with a younger brother and a younger sister. And yeah, I think that's where probably my journey first began, and I stayed there until I left home, really, in that community.
Now, I remember all of your family. I mean, your dad was always immensely kind to my son, Ben, who's now 24.
Right.
So, and it's intriguing the way that our paths seem to have entwined over the years.
Yes, yeah.
So growing up, I guess family was important to you. You already touched on it.
Yes, very, very much so. I mean, my dad, as you mentioned, he was a very kind man, really nice person. And he brought the children up, us children, to have the same values, I think, as him. And that was about giving rather than always receiving. So I did grow up in a hard community with not much money, but a real sense of working together to support each other and help each other out and being kind to one another. And I think that really stems from the values of my community and my mum and dad. Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, you mentioned the community. You grew up in a very strong community. And what worked for you? Because I know you played football, for example, and you presumably still in contact with lots of people you were at school with.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think I was quite lucky really within my community. I didn't really get into drugs or smoking or alcohol because I was so into football as a youngster. And when I was young, which wasn't that long ago, I know it might look like it, but it wasn't too long ago, there wasn't really any female football teams around. So I remember playing down Ash Football Club, knocking a ball against the wall with the lads down there. And then one of them said, "Why don't you come and play for Tongan Boys?" And I thought, well, I can't because I'm a girl. Let's see what the manager says. Anyway, I did played a season or two, I think, with Tongan Boys. And I remember scoring my first goal and the thrill of scoring the goal. But I very much remember the other boys on the pitch looking at me thinking, what do we do? We can't really cuddle her or hug her. She's a girl. Which was fantastic, a real good fun upbringing. And then a couple of years later, Ashvale girls team set up. So I joined the girls team and had a good 25 years of football, made some of the best friends who we're still very friendly with to this day, and had a real great time. Yeah.
So recently retired, given that you played for 25 years.
Well done, Paul. Absolutely, recently retired.
What your first thing was when you went to university, which must have been a big step for you, because tell us about it, because obviously you came from this close-knit community to somewhere new and you had skills to take with you. How did you find university?
Yeah, so obviously coming from a sort of working class background, it wasn't really the done thing to go off and educate yourself so much. All of my family prior to this had been on apprenticeships or straight out to work. But I decided to take the route to university. And the little problem with this was that I finished Connaught School, which is now Alderwood School, with no good GCSE results. They were poor. I did all right in PE, but the rest were sort of D's and E's and below. So it took me 7 years to get to university. So I had to do a intermediate GNVQ, then advanced GNVQ, then a HND, and then finally a degree. But I think the experience of learning was just wonderful for me. And it's something that I thoroughly enjoyed and still enjoy now. It just learning new things all the time, every day. Just, it's great listening and talking to new people all the time. I just get a great thrill from it.
So what's your degree in?
Well, it's leisure management, but I would probably say it was more in pleasure management. It was great fun at university. I really enjoyed it, and obviously got the qualification as well. But it's all about management really, and how to manage people and things. But I specialised in leisure because I was into sport at that time. Still am, but the same principles apply.
And have you found that what you studied has carried you through into what you do now?
Absolutely. It's given me some really good understanding theories for management, which I think alongside the growing up with a working class community has given me the people management. So I think putting the two together, the theory and the practice, has enabled me to do what I do today.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you do today, as you've mentioned it.
Sure. So I run CMPP, which stands for, got my little top on, Community Matters Partnership Project.
It might not transfer too well to radio, but...
It might not, absolutely. You can see it on me though, can't you, Paul?
Yeah.
CMPP is a charity, and we work with companies to help them connect with their local communities. So we try to encourage companies to become partners of ours, and then we help them to deliver their corporate responsibilities. That might be through volunteering with us, corporate volunteering on a range of projects in schools with charities, or it might be taking part in one of our fundraising events to help us raise money to support the good work that we do out there in the community. Been going 10 years this year, which I can't believe. Again, obviously I don't look old enough. Can't see that on radio too, thank goodness. But it's been 10 years of, wow, what a journey, you know, from starting off in a spare bedroom at home in a pair of slippers, with 4 companies on board, to now having, I think there's 58 this year, companies on board, and 17,000 corporate volunteers out there in the community using their volunteer days to do some good work. So it's been such a great journey, and one I'm so immensely proud of.
It's amazing because you filled a real gap. I mean, you know that I've been big on CSR for 27 years, almost the same as your age. And it wasn't popular when I started doing it. Why are you being Father Christmas? Why are you painting that fence? And now people have sort of grown up. And again, you know that our phrase is look after the community and the community will look after you. And you feel a real need where companies couldn't go and do it themselves. So, I mean, what are the future plans for CMPP?
Yes, I mean, me personally, I'd love to see a CMP operating in every local community in the whole country. I just think it would be the most amazing thing for companies to be able to give back easily and effectively, and for communities to benefit from all that good intent, good motivation and resource. And the only thing that really stops that happening is somebody sitting in the middle, making it all happen, which is what CMPP does. We make it very easy for companies to give back and very easy for communities to ask for help. So my ambition would be, let's talk to the government, let's spread this thing UK wide, and let's get some help to those that need it most.
And do you find, and this was your first thing, which we rather glossed over, the experience of working with your dad and touting for business with him helps you speak to the customers at large, although they're probably donors for CMPP?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I remember when I lived in Northtown, and my dad had obviously 3 young children, and my mum was looking after us, and he couldn't get enough work as a plumber. And I remember overhearing the conversations, the worry from the family, having this chat. So I came up with the idea of, without him knowing, going around the estate and putting his business card through the door and speaking to as many people as I could. Say, if you need a plumber, you know, my dad can help. So I think that definitely gave me the grounding to be able to speak to lots of different people, and that entrepreneurial spirit of trying to make something happen, without a shadow of a doubt. And as I've grown up and I've gone to university and met different people, I think I've become not too bad at speaking to people at all sorts of levels. You know, I really love people, from the CEO of the airport, Brandon, down to the cleaner at the local college. They all have something valuable to teach me in life, which I think is good for me, and hopefully will help other people in the long run because of that.
Yeah, we're all on a journey, and everybody's journey is different. And equality is big in the news at the moment. And I think it's our responsibility to treat everybody the same. And I do think, I mean, our backgrounds aren't dissimilar. You went to university, I went to Farmer College of Technology to get all my qualifications. And I do think from that background, you learn humility and what it's like to be in things together. And added to sport, it all adds up. And I guess where I'm leading with this, what was the motivation to start the Looking Glass Network?
Yeah, so the Looking Glass is something that I started about 18 months ago now, and it's a network for women in business. And I do it on a voluntary basis. So I set the network up to bring women together to network and look at how we can help and support each other within our workplaces. Now, I became a mum 7 years ago, so I've got a 7-year-old daughter, Olivia, and the moment I became a mum, my professional working life changed drastically overnight. And I hadn't never appreciated or understood the barriers that were in place suddenly as a mother working, as to not being a mother. And I started finding things like I couldn't go to networking in the morning because I had to drop my daughter to school. Most of the networking were at the school run stage. And anyway, I came across lots of different barriers over the years and thought there must be a way that we can set up a network where perhaps we could come together and see whether or not we can change anything to make it easier for us professional women, with and without children, to do some good stuff. And we talk about all sorts, from flexible working to diversity to being on boards, you know, and giving each other confidence to step forward and step up perhaps into positions that maybe we wouldn't have done without a little bit of encouragement from each other.
It's interesting. I have a unique perspective. As you know, I brought my son up on my own after my wife went. So when we started the Branson Adams networking events, none of them start before 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Right. Yeah.
You just rule out one half the working population. It's bonkers.
You do, absolutely. And so many don't take that into account unless you have your experience or mine, realizing, oh, this isn't good. I can't get there at these times. And then unfortunately, sometimes when you do go and you make the effort to get somebody to take your son or daughter to school, when you arrive, it's not quite that inspirational networking that I was looking for. It was a lot of sort of, you know, people that have been going to the same club for a long time talking about the same things, but I wanted to hear entrepreneur stories. I wanted to hear people like you that have gone through a journey and you're willing to share and tell me about it. You know, a bit more inspiring, I suppose, in terms of storytelling.
Well, yeah, as I say, we all are what we are. And your story is really inspiring. You know, local girl made goods, still in the same neighbourhoods.
Luckily, there's not many people that might remember me from my school days, Paul, because as I said, not very many GCSEs, and mainly learning to smoke behind the bike sheds was my upbringing at that age. But luckily, I'm matured now and hopefully giving something back to those that helped me at that point in my life.
Oh, I'm sure you're giving lots back. But I was going to move on to the third thing, because you're you know, you mentioned it, you're a mum. You have all the challenges. And my son's 24 now, so I can tell you it doesn't go away.
I know. Thanks, Paul. Worry's always there now, isn't it?
So, I mean, what have you gone through? Because, what, 7 now, is she?
Yeah, so she just turned 7, Olivia, yeah.
So what was it like those 7 years? And have you got any plans to make the next 7 any different with her?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing I thought when I was about to go into hospital to have Olivia, I hadn't signed up for any of the sessions where you learn to breathe and meet other parents that might be having babies, because I was just so busy at that time. So stupidly, I turned up, went to the hospital, thinking, you know, women have given birth to babies for hundreds of years. It can't be that difficult. Wow, that was a lesson, Paul. I can tell you that now. I had no idea what was coming or what to expect, thankfully, because I probably wouldn't have got pregnant if I had. But I remember walking out the hospital with this baby in my hand, watching women come in, thinking, have you got any idea what's about to happen to you? Very, very, you know, funny, really, looking back. But Olivia has been obviously the most blessing and the most wonderful thing that's ever happened to me in my life. She's just a wonderful, wonderful gift that I've been given. Having a baby whilst being a professional in the workplace, as I said, was demanding and challenging, and loyalties to different parties were suddenly, hang on a minute, I don't want to do that, or I need to do this, and having lots of different things on my plate to juggle at one time. I think we managed to get a balance now quite nicely. She's a little bit older, of course, but I think with women with young children, it's a very difficult place to be, because you think you need to work and you think you need to look after your child, you know, so getting the balance for everybody is not possible. And only I believe that women can do what's right for themselves at that point in time, as can single dads as yourself, Paul, you know.
Oh, thank you,
very
Tracy.
tricky.
Well, I was going to say family always comes first. Family has to come first, especially when they're...
Absolutely.
And when I was employed, I mean, my employer wasn't bad, but I don't think they appreciate the fact that, you know, something was wrong with Ben or something where I had to go.
Yeah.
And I certainly hope now that anybody who works for me, male or female, feels that, you know, if there's a desperate situation, or even if they feel they need to go, they have that ability to go.
Yeah, because it's very stressful, isn't it, when you've got young children and they're not well, and you're torn between, oh, I need to get to work and my child is poorly. So having an employer that understands that is for families just so critically important. And of course, when I had Olivia, I was only in the very early stages of setting up CMPP, and I was in charge. I was the boss. So I remember taking her to a big meeting about a bid that we were writing, and having to breastfeed her in the meeting with 10 guys and me. And I remember one guy said to me at the end, I've never been in a meeting where that's happened before. And I'd say, well, sorry, if you wanted the meeting, that's got to happen. And that's what we have to do. And it has to be.
So can Olivia run anything at CMPP? Has she picked up bits and pieces?
She runs this house, I'll tell you that now. She definitely has picked up I'm the boss. But I think with Olivia, I hope that she will be inspired to be, doing great things in the world. That's the moral values that we're trying to teach her, is to give and to be kind and to help each other out in the world. So I'm hoping there will be something in the future that she can do as valuable from her mum and dad and the things that we're teaching her.
And I do think a lot comes to the parents, and I hope he doesn't listen to this. I'm very proud of my son, Ben. He passed his exams at school. He went and got a degree. And I still remember 2 weeks into his job he got. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm changing all the Excel spreadsheets because they don't work. I went, that's great, son. Paid for your education. You got off to university. And your first 2 weeks at work, you used what I taught you at work.
Brilliant.
Not a waste
Brilliant.
of summer holiday.
Brilliant. But he will learn, won't he? He will watch what you've done and how you do it, and he will be influenced by the way that you behave. So as parents, we do have a great influence on how our children react to society and the world.
Do you find that Olivia has to put up with things that you had to put up with, or is it, is her life easier? Do you manage to give her more than you got?
Definitely, and I'm very aware that she has a much easier life than I had as a child, and she's more protected, I suppose, in this environment than I was growing up. So it's a very fine balance between being a middle class, mum, to growing up within a working class community. So I've got to try not to be too overprotective of her as well, which I do find difficult.
So where do we stand on smoking behind the bike sheds?
If she smoked behind the bike sheds, we'd be definitely having stern words. I'm hoping that this day and age she won't, and that healthy living will be part of her choices. But we'll wait till we get to the teenager years before that might happen.
Yes, do as I say, not as I did.
Exactly that.
So you've obviously learned lots of lessons, because we all do. If I was to say to you, Tracy, what's the biggest lesson you've learned?
Yeah, the biggest lesson I've learned. I think the biggest lesson I've learned is persistence, I suppose. You can get knocked many times, and things don't always work out for you in this life. But keeping positive and persistent, if you believe in something, is really helped me, I think, to get to where I've been today. Lots of companies initially weren't interested in CMP, didn't want to get involved, and you hear no so many times. You think, I don't know, is this, am I doing the right thing? But suddenly, yes, I am doing the right thing. But you have to keep that persistence really as part of your makeup and bounce back ability. So don't let things get you down. If you believe in something, you can make it happen and keep going with it, I think.
Bounce back ability. You turned into match of the day in the 90s.
That is match of the day. I love that bounce back ability. Brilliant word.
And I know your brother, he took over the family business. Was there any pressure for you to join it?
Yeah, no, I think Neil was always destined to run the family business. And Neil, my brother, is highly dyslexic, and he has done an amazing job with taking over my dad's business. Something that he might find very difficult, having dyslexia, not a problem. He's done extremely well. So really proud of Neil and what he's achieved. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know Richard. You know Richard as well. Luffy, as you call him.
Yeah, Luffy.
We will play this back to him. He does it. He does his best to keep Neil on the straight and narrow. If that's possible.
That's possible, because he's a little bit crazy.
Oh, we love him. We love him for what he is.
He's lovely.
So when you're not working now and doing things with Olivia, yeah, what interests have you got?
Yeah, so every day, 6:30, I try to go for a run between 5 and 7K. I'm trying to do, and I'm managing to do a bit more running at the moment because we're in lockdown, so I haven't got the rush to get to the school run or straight into work. So I'm really enjoying that. I like cooking when I get time to enjoy it. I really like to explore different new things, really into sort of Thai food, and having a go at exploring some of that. Love travel and going places, love reading, love listening to music. Um, I love drawing, but I'm absolutely rubbish at it, so I never do that. And I love socialising with my family and friends, really, and trying to make the most out of being on this earth for however many lucky years I get to be here.
Well, however long it is, make sure you enjoy it. And I guess in terms,
Exactly.
yeah, one holiday destination you haven't been to, where would you like to go?
I'd really like to take my mum actually to Cuba because she was going to go with my dad and they never made it, unfortunately, before my dad passed away. So if I had a choice and enough money, I think I'd take her over there for a 2-week holiday and smoke some Cuban cigars, perhaps.
Well, give it a go sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
And what about your music and reading? What are your favourite genres?
Oh yeah, I'm really actually quite open to all sorts of different things. I think I quite like music, 60s. I think I grew up again with my mum and dad playing 60s in the kitchen, so I always loved having a glass of wine and listening to the 60s. And music, well, when I was at school, I actually played the baritone, which is quite a big brass instrument in the North East Hampshire area school's brass band. It wasn't very cool playing a brass instrument and playing football at school. It just wasn't the coolest thing. So ideally, I'd like to have played a saxophone. But these days, I'm much more happier listening to my husband, who's got a band. He plays guitar, and enjoying their music. The Vice Squad.
What's his band called?
The Vice Squad. They're
So where do they
great.
play? Where do they play?
Well, they actually they're really good. They're all teachers from the Sixth Form College in
Yeah.
Farnborough, and they play for free for any charity event. So if you're a charity out there listening and you've got a big do on, then the Vice Squad will come along for free, 7-piece band, and play for the evening to help you raise some money. They do weddings and birthdays as well.
I feel a Christmas event coming on, Tracy. We need to sit down and organise this.
Brilliant, Paul. That's music to my ears. We'd love to do a Christmas event. It'd be great.
Yeah, we'll sort something out. Is there anything you would like to talk about in particular? Because I'm conscious I've led you through this.
Yeah, no, thank you for leading. I find it very difficult to talk about myself really and achievements. I think again that's a working class attribute. It's not to brag about things. So when people lead you questions, you can talk openly and not be embarrassed by it. But no, I think I've met some of the best people in the world. Really, I'm very lucky to work with people from companies and communities that really care about something bigger than themselves. And I'm a great advocate in that and in that purposeful leadership. And of course, you are too, Paul, because that's what you do. You lead a company not just to make money, but you lead it purposely and value led. Which, if every company in this world did, would make such a difference to humanity, to schools, to charities, to communities. So, Paul, from me, you're a great example of what I believe every business should do.
Right, we'll just edit that bit out.
It's embarrassing, isn't it?
Well, it's funny. My son, who I know you've met on 1 or 2 occasions, he said to me when he was about 13, was, Dad, how can we end up being in charge everywhere we go? And I guess you're the same.
Yeah.
If somebody's not leading, you just get out there and do it for them.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, my brother, will call me bossy, but that's what I do, and that's what I've always done, and I do it for the right reasons.
It's not just Neil, Tracy. So we touched on this earlier, and obviously looking forward, Olivia's going to grow up. What are you going to do? Are you going to keep on with CMPP? Are you going to expand it? Are you going to look for new challenges? You're going to lead the country, get elected Prime Minister?
Well, they're good questions. What does the future hold? And I mean, I don't really know, really. I'd like to explore the Looking Glass more and see what can be done with the Looking Glass as a network. Again, I think it's got some great legs for expansion into different communities. My husband will be retiring from his job in about 18 months' time, so I'd like to also spend a bit more time at home with him doing some stuff together in the future. And really, I think what would I like? to enjoy, be happy, and not too stressed with things, if at all possible, when you're running businesses and organisations. Yeah, I think that's what I like.
That's good. So obviously, you know, you have an open platform now to beg, encourage, or otherwise extract the money from local businesses. So you can have
Great.
a pitch now if you like.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, as you're the accountant here, you could tell businesses how good it is for them to be involved, from a charity, from a tax point of view as well. Obviously, donating to charity is great. And why would you not do that? And we would love to help any business out there who wants to get a bit more serious about putting purpose within their values of a business, and make it very easy for them to give back. So if you're a local business and you want to do that, we'd love to hear from you. Anytime, contact us, hello@cmpp.org.uk, or pop onto our website to find out a little bit more.
And I would highly recommend that. And it's, of course, it's tax deductible. And if you do anything interesting, like any of the runway walks, you'll see us both there, and one of us may be dressed as something unusual.
That's certainly Paul, not me. I think, what were you last time, Paul?
I was a Mad Hatter. Mad Hatter.
That's what you were. Mad Hatter. Brilliant Mad Hatter as well.
Yes, the Branson Adams team came as characters from Alice in Wonderland.
Fantastic. Really good. Did you enjoy the Twilight Run?
It was brilliant. In my case, with my knees, it's more as of an amble, but it was.
Yeah.
And I
it's all
think
about taking part, eh?
I think for about 6 weeks afterwards, I kept getting emails going, "We saw you on the news." So who have you got as trustees at the moment at CMPP?
Yeah, so we've got 5 trustees. We've got Nick and Tracy Shrimpton, who run the company Six Sense Marketing, on our board. We've got Mark Barama, who was head of children's safeguarding for Hampshire Police. We've got John Goodwin, who is the compliance director for the UK Cloud, the government agency for software. And we have Paul Edwards, who is our chair, and he is the director of finance for the Prospects Trust, the Multi-Academy Trust. So we've got some really great, skillful and very high profile strategic thinkers on our board, which is, again, I hope going to help and aid CMPP to not only survive, but to thrive over the next sort of 5 to 10 years, and to expand into new places.
And I really hope it does. And I'm conscious we're speaking at the end of lockdown during 2020 and COVID. Has it had much effect on revenue? Obviously, you can't get out and do things, but are people still giving you money?
Yeah, no, it's had a massive effect on us as a charity. So we haven't been able to run any fundraising events so far this year since March. So that's taken us down 100% on fundraising activities, and memberships also down by 70%, with companies just putting their membership on hold with us until they know what's going to happen in their futures. I'm hopeful, and I'm very hopeful, that membership will come back up again as companies stabilise.
I think we've covered loads of stuff. It's been absolutely brilliant talking to you.
And to you too.
And we'll see you soon. And just to end, it's Paul Adams with Tracy Jarvis, because I keep trying to call you by your maiden name.
Yeah.
During a Three Things podcast. As Tracy said, if you want to talk to CMPP, please contact them or us. Tracy's brilliant, and hopefully we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Paul.